All right, gents, the fiberglass has been laid up. As you can see, there is a total of 6 layers going around the flange area of the tank, and a total of 4 layers on the actual tank itself. That'll be more than adequate. This is, I got a fan on it. Whenever I turned it down low so I could talk, but I keep the fan on high to keep the temperature during the cure down low. Hey everybody! All right, the flanges have been removed from the tank. You see, so those are all the surfaces look really nice and clean. Generally on the plywood surfaces that I use, because I try to use the really nice side of the lanolin, whatever it is, plywood. Because one side has a really heavy grain side and the other side is a much smoother side, and that's generally the side I try to use to make in my initial flange. And you can just plain wax over the top of it and it doesn't stick, but you do get a little bit of grainage or loose wood that'll stick to it. So generally what I do is take a putty knife and just run it over the surface, and it'll scrape off anything and leave a really nice smooth surface. And then this is ready to wax. Generally how I separate it is just a putty knife down the edge, because I don't don't pry on it terribly, because this is going to be very rigid with 6 layers of fiberglass. So you just get it separated, and then you can just, it'll easily just slide down in, and you can run it down and it'll completely separate it. It pops right off. And we have this, you can see there's the hot glue that's holding it on there. And there's the wood, so separated without destroying it. So if I want to make another mold, I still have these, and I could produce another mold if I want to be able to make more than one at a time. So I keep all my at least my wood patterns. Cardboard stuff I don't worry about, but it's all clean, it's all good. So at this point I need to finish putting the cardboard on here. That's the only thing I have to do now, and I will probably grind in some dowels in at least 2 positions, probably up here in the front and one here in the back, and that's simply to align the 2 plates. Because if you are in heavy production of a mold, the bolt holes will eventually get worn out, and the 2 mold halves can shift back and forth. So if you have an alignment dowel in there, that will help with that potentially shifting. Hey everybody! All right, the other side of the mold was completed. This morning I decided to go ahead and start getting it prepped to do the underside. As you can see, the flange cardboard pieces that I had put in is all done, and the part is cured. You can see I still have some residual wax, or not wax, but modeling clay. I still plan to go through and clog any of the openings here, because the tank, when it was sanded, etc., had a light radius put on the edge of the tank, which I don't want that, because that can be sanded into the tank once it's complete, an actual part is made. So I will come in and finish clogging up the cracks in the mold, so when I lay the new flange from the underside onto here, that it'll create a square surface, and then allow me to do whatever mods I want to do after the tank is made. All right, so what I'm probably going to do here is a piece of PVC pipe. I'll probably have to machine the surface of it, reduce it down in size so it'll slide lock into here, and then come off with some cardboard or plywood up to the PVC pipe, and then from out here to actually block off to make this portion of the mold separate from here. As I stated before, you can't pull the mold out because of these pockets, so the pocket section has to be made separately. And so as I build it, I'll figure out which is best, and then we'll come back to the video and I'll show you what I've done in order to close this section off, and then we will lay up this portion first, and then we will remove the block plate out of here, and then mold this front section of the mold. And then when you go to assemble the mold, it'll be able to be bolted together through a flange in the middle of the tank here. All right, everybody, the flange, divider flange for the front section of the tank is in. I went ahead and went through with the modeling clay and filled in the crack that was in there. The mold has been all waxed up again. The bolts are installed in the threaded ports with the nuts raised so that I may get flat fiberglass underneath and on top of the nut to lock it in place. And again, modeling clay, and then this was wood, and then cardboard, and then my aluminum tape with the PVC pipe in there. I kind of want to iterate something on here. This is an internal form or internal mold, and when you have something that's internal, it can be really difficult to sand when you're trying to make your plug or your master. And I guess a good rule of thumb is, if it's hard to sand your plug before you make your mold, if it's an area that's hard to sand before, it'll be easy to sand the mold afterwards, because that portion is going to be in reverse of this, and you'll have better access to it. So if it's not a critical surface, you know, then you don't have to spend as much time on it. There's a couple imperfections in this. I'm not worried about it at all. I mean, there's some divots, things like that. There's a few of them up here in this pocket. That was extremely difficult to sand, but once the mold is made, that'll be easily buffed out. Anything that's a negative in the mold will be a positive, or a negative in the plug will be a positive in the mold, and those little things can be knocked off quickly and easily with sandpaper. So just a little tip there. Also, when you apply the modeling clay, I use just regular old paint thinner and a paper towel, and I come across and wipe it. The paper towel is kind of good and damp, and it will smooth out the modeling clay really nice. I use, like I said, I use a popsicle stick also, but there are certain times where the popsicle stick's literally pulling the clay out of the area that you're trying to fill. So the best way to do that is just smooth it out with a little paint thinner and a paper towel. Anyways, this is the back side of it. As you can see, there's my PVC pipe. I ended up having to put duct tape around it to give a build-up so it would fit the pocket better. And then I pushed it in place, hot glued the edges, and then of course built up the cardboard, and then braced it with my popsicle stick so I get a good rigid surface in the back side. And then it's also hot glued in there. So when this is all done, it'll give me my flange, and everything will be all right. I chose to build the bottom side mold with the halves still on there so I can have a flange. So I theoretically didn't have to build another flange again in order to do something that was already built there for me. So when I go to, I'm basically just making a giant capsule of my tank, and then once I get done, I'll do all the trim work and then separate the halves from the mold. All right, the back half of the underside is molded at this point, so we're gonna let it cure. Being it's earlier in the day, this should be kicked off enough tonight where I should be able to do the underside and let it everything fully cure overnight. The temperature the heat is terrible, so I've been reducing my catalyst in there and it's giving me decent work times, but still, bear in mind when you're doing bigger projects to eyeball the temperature and really relax the catalyst if you're working in the heat, and if you're in the cold, you're going to have to bring the catalyst up. So anyways, this is it. We'll get the front done here, and then we'll come back when it's all done. At that point, we'll be close to being able to pull the mold, trim it and pull it out. So that's it. All right, everyone, this is I've removed the flanges that were built inside here. This is what you see. It's all closed off. I got it already. Got the modeling clay pressed into the cracks, and now I'm going to go ahead and gel coat this up, and this will be the final section and probably this final clip for this episode. And then the next episode we'll go ahead and remove everything and see what the mold looks like. So here we are. That's it.